I did my undergraduate degree at Northland College, and I fell in love with the place for sure at that point. And I had interned on a couple farms while I was in college, so I knew I was going to move back. So I went to grad school, worked in Chicago for a while, and was looking for land up here, and found this place over by Port Wing, and it had sold really quickly. But the agent was like, well, you should come check out this other place. So I drove up here. I think it was actually this time of year. I think it was March. You know, gray as anything. Just the snow is nasty. And I walked out in the field, in the back. It's all hayfield. And this immature eagle buzzed my head. I was like, okay, I got it. I'm home. Just the process of being in this place was easy, but finding the social connections and then feeling like I was rooted here took a long time. I knew that I could make it here when I moved back because there was a bookstore, a coffee shop, and a really great theater. And Stage North was brand new when it kind of got started when I moved, when I was up here. So that was a second great theater. So, my citified, things that I value, I think those were the indicators that it was going to be a pretty awesome place to be. Certainly the lake is fundamental to my being here. I grew up on Lake Michigan, and I can't imagine how I would ever live away from a lake. I had to do it at my master's program, and it drove me bonkers. Partly because I couldn't navigate anywhere. But yeah, the lake is definitely a huge feature. And certainly the, we're on the edge of the boreal forest. I got temperate forest cover. And that isn't a set of images that's really deeply ingrained in me because when I was a kid, we'd come up to Hayward vacationing, Hayward and Phillips. So I always associated white pines with heaven. And I think that's a big feature too. As a farmer being here, there are just so many other pieces now that, like, when I go back to visit Chicago and I drive back up here, I can smell, the springtime or something, I can smell when the earth changes to clay, when you get that real iron smell. And that, to me, is home for sure. The red sticky gumbo. So I think that stands out also as a defining characteristic of place. The farm itself is haven. It's restoration for me. It's certainly identity. It's the absolute ground of creativity. It is, so much of my meaning is coming out of this farm. I've wanted to be a farmer since I was in 6th grade, before I knew what the word was. You don't know the word farmer when you grew up in Chicago. And so that, for me, it's been it's become a huge piece of my life, obviously, but it's my positive way of interacting with the challenges that we face on a global scale. I can, as a farmer, I can put my energy into doing something nurturing, in the face of climate change, in the face of biodiversity loss, in the face of social injustice, all of those things. So it's my response to the world, basically. It's definitely my whole social ground, as well as my entertainment and my nourishment, physical and spiritual nourishment. And I can't imagine living anywhere else ever. I'm pretty well rooted here. Traveling, yes, no problem, but you know, and maybe even a sabbatical somewhere, but yeah, deep roots now. Yeah, so, you know, being at home in a place means responsibility from my point of view. Daniel Wildcat has a quote. It's something like, perhaps if we are going to focus on all of our inalienable rights, that we start talking about our inalienable responsibilities to go along with them. And so I think about responsibility in a couple of different ways. One is responsibility to the land, and the way that I'm choosing to farm has changed a lot since I moved here and started. So the farming part of it has been a process of listening to the land, literally, or touching it, or, you know, just being aware of it, observing it, and trying to figure out how best to approach it in a way that can build biodiversity. You know, I'm really interested in seed protection. I got a perfect site for raising seeds here because I'm pretty isolated. So that's becoming more and more important to me too. And then that flows in, of course, to the community itself. And I think about that not only as the food that I'm raising, but about abundance in general. Every so often, you know, I'll bring, I don't have tobacco leaves usually, but I'll bring sage or something out and just sprinkle some ashes out, usually in the spring before I start planting, and then in the fall at the end. The other big set of rituals is usually around the equinoxes and the solstices. I'll have potlucks or, you know, some of those moments in time, Halloween time, you know, and that kind of thing. Just to really celebrate the people and the place, and so we'll go out and have a bonfire and, you know, celebrate it that way. So I think about bringing people to the farm as like a way of bringing energy to the farm. And I have a little labyrinth, which as you can't see, it's under the snow right now, but I have a little labyrinth out there. And so for the longest time, every time people came over for a potluck, I would ask them to bring a rock with them, you know, some kind of bread loaf shaped sized rock. So I built the labyrinth that way, as well as just as I went around the Lake Superior area, just collected rocks for it, you know, so kind of bringing that here. Having a sense of gratitude for what this place does is sort of a continual process for sure. And nature just surprises you, you know, and so the more time I spend here, the more that grows, that sense of gratitude and the sense of surprise. So I think about that as an ongoing ritual too.